Hello and welcome to another episode of Raman Rewinds. In this episode, I'm going to be paying a tribute to an artist who was absolute favorite of cricket fans across the world. And of course, the artistry that he conjured on the field of cricket not only won him admirers amongst the followers of the game, but even the bowlers who had meted out punishment on the field of play secretly admired his artistry. All his efforts for India were fantastic, and the remarkable aspect of his career stats is that all his hundreds were either match-winning knocks or were hundreds which secured India a draw from a very precarious situation. And the other thing about all those hundreds is that generally they came under difficult circumstances and also on tricky surfaces where the bowlers had a lot of assistance as well. He was the backbone of the Indian batting lineup during his career, along with Sunil Gavaskar. But the fact of the matter remains that he was a people's favorite. People would be happy if they went into the venue and saw the great man get a couple of boundaries. And even if he got out after getting a couple of boundaries, they would obviously talk about it no end. Such was the following that he had. And as far as I'm concerned, the first time I ever perhaps saw Viswanath was when I was just about 9 years old during the Pongal Test match in Chennai, when India played against West Indies under Clive Lloyd. Of course, the 74-75 season was an engrossing series. And in the Chennai Test match, and Madras as it was called then, at the Chidambaram Stadium, G.R. Viswanath got a 97 not out. That is an innings that people do not ever tire of talking even today. Mind you, that happened in 74-75, and people till date who were there at the ground go on talking about it. They would almost describe just about every ball that Vishy played, because he raced to that 97 in the second innings in the company of tailenders, which gave India some chance to perhaps make a fight out of it. Eventually, they won the test match, and all I can remember of the test match is the direct throw from Ashok Mankad from the deep to effect a run out. I think it was Alvin Kalicharan, if I remember right. But apart from that, I was too young to remember anything or even to appreciate the nuances of the exploits of G.R. Viswanath under challenging circumstances and against the blistering pace attack of Andy Roberts, Van Van Holder, Bernard Julian. And fast forward to 93, a lot of things that happened between 75 to 93. Yes, the young boy who was around 9 years of age with vague memories of the 74-75 test had gone on to scale the ladder and made it to the Indian team. Yes, I'm talking about yours truly. I was part of the Indian side under Mohammad Azharuddin, which played against England, and England did not have a great time on the tour. So what happened in 93 was that Viswanath had obviously finished his cricket, and he had become the selector then, if not the chairman of the committee. So he had hooked up with a friend, and he was waiting for his friend just across the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association main gate, and he was standing on the pavement waiting for his friend. The crowd saw Viswanath standing on the pavement for a while, and they got testy, and then they created a little bit of an incident there, taking it up with the administrators of the Tamil Nadu Cricket Association under the impression that the administrators made Vishy wait without allowing him access to the stadium. But then the great man G.R. Viswanath had to intervene and inform the public that he was waiting there to meet up with his friends and that they both would get into the stadium together. So that is a kind of following it, that is a kind of affection that the Madras people had for Vishy always. In between these two periods that I mentioned, mm, in 1987-88, G.R. Viswanath uh, had come along with the Karnataka side uh, to Calcutta, and they had qualified to play in the final against the board president's 11, the team in which I was playing for. That was my first season in international cricket, and we are playing the final of the Wills Trophy. So on the eve of the final, G.R. Viswanath had casually mentioned to me that he was calling it a day after that season, which meant effectively that that was the last time that we are going to see Vishy walk out to bat. And he was also in great nick leading up to the final. He had got a couple of half centuries, which is one of the reasons why Karnataka qualified. So I was absolutely delighted, and I was hoping that Vishy would at least make a half century, regardless of what impact it made on my side. All these things never crossed my mind at all. I was absolutely single tunneled in that. I would very much prefer to see Vishy get a 50 and then enjoy as much as I can the last time around ever. So I still remember that day. I was feeling at Metuket. Vishy walks out to bat. He passes me, and there I am muttering under my breath, "All the best, Vishy. At least now, century here, Vish." So he just looked sidelong and he said thank you, and then walked out, took guard, played the first ball, and the second ball tried to run it down in his inimitable style. But what happened was that he had played a little bit too soon, and the ball crashed into stumps of the inner edge. And there I was absolutely gutted because the great man was playing his last game, and there he was, dismissed of the very second ball that he faced. And I said, "Oh, this game can be so cruel in so many ways." And as Vishy walked past me, he said, "Sorry, W, it happens to everybody." I said, "Of course, Vishy." But anyway, I had to rush to congratulate the bowler for getting the great man out so cheaply. What really is not being really conveyed enough is terrific sense of humor. He would come out with quips that will make you laugh for a long time. He was spontaneous, and yet at no point in time it is ever a kind of cutting or insensitive, a sense of humor. It was brilliant. So just to give you an example, out of curiosity, in my early years at RSGR, about the pitches that he encountered in the Caribbean islands, especially mind you, during his career span, the West Indies had fearsome fast bowlers. So Vishy would tell me in Tamil and English mixed. So he told me, "Illa macha, the pitch park pocha, you home எடுத்துன்னு போலாம்." So I couldn't, catch on to what he was trying to say. So I said, "Vishy, going to inspect a pitch, why would you take a home?" So he said, "No. When you walked out to inspect the pitches, what would happen there is that you would obviously, be well prepared, absolutely hard at it because it'd be rolled and rolled and rolled. And then it would give you an impression that those pitches, after being rolled a lot of times, were glossed over as well. So if you looked at the pitch, if you looked down at the pitch, the gloss factor was so much that you could pick out a comb because your face will be almost clearly visible. You can pick out your comb from a pocket and comb your hair if at all your hair was in disarray." So, and he went on to say that your hair would be very much in disarray for the simple reason that you were thinking of the prospect of playing those fearsome fast bowlers the very next day. But of course, that did not deter the great man performing extraordinarily well in all the venues that he's played, and also on all the tough tracks that he played on. G.R. Viswanath is obviously contributed a lot in several ways for Indian cricket, and of course his book, which came out very recently, is something that a lot of people really rave about because of the things that is being conveyed, which is very educative and which is full of insights. GRV will always have a special place in everyone's hearts, and of course, the debate as to whether he was the best artist that Indian cricket has ever had, is something that will always be argued about, because he inspired the likes of Azharuddin and previous Lakshman to be very artistic and very wristy. Of course, you don't really practice all these things. It comes naturally to you, because there are certain things in cricket which are obviously inherent, and each player will have his own individuality. But nonetheless, all three that I mentioned, Vishy, Azhar, and VBS, they've of course provided a lot of entertainment. They've also been extraordinarily good human beings, which has made a very, very deep impression on the cricket loving fans of India, and of course all the fans of cricket across the world too. G.R. Vishnath was one of a kind, both as a batter and as an individual. And Vishy, wish you all the very best, and may God bless you with good health and happiness for a long, long time. Oh, I tell you, folks, if you had not seen G.R. Vishnath, I assure you, you missed something in life. But of course, fortunately, there are a few videos of G.R. Vishnath which would perhaps give you an indication of how good he was. And of course, if you'd also heard a lot of his contemporaries who had seen him and played against him talk about him, you would get a measure of the greatness of the man. So it was delightful for me to pay a tribute to G.R. Vishnath, because he's one who's obviously the darling of Indian cricket, because a lovely man and a great cricketer that he was. People will never get tired of talking about G.R. Vishnath, or of course paying tribute to a gem from Karnataka. That's it from me on this episode, and until I catch up with you in my next episode on Raman Rewinds, be good and stay safe.